South Africa has ample agricultural supplies at the moment. We are coming from a year of abundance. That's the 2025-26 production season. And even the season before that was actually excellent because we have been in this period of regular La Nina rains across South Africa. And this has benefited folks that are in livestock in terms of improving the grazing felt, grain and oilseeds production, fruit and vegetables, just all around from a production perspective in agriculture. The rains of the past couple of years have been excellent. But of course, the movie can't go on for longer. There are all of these changes in the weather that every now and then happen. And the big story at the moment has been the looming El Nino. Of course, this is not an immediate challenge in South Africa because we are now entering the winter season. The only people that are thinking and worried about the weather conditions are the folks in the Western Cape. And fortunately for now, it's been raining, but the South African Weather Service has signaled to say, hey, later in the winter season, we may see below normal rainfall in the Western Cape. And we'll see how then that affects the crop. We all hope that many people can get their activity done in these weeks of better rainfall. And perhaps maybe even if the rain is below normal, it still rains at the right period for the crop when crops are pollinating and all of that, so that we could have a reasonably decent winter crop. But I think where a lot of panic will come about is during the summer season in South Africa. The summer season starts around mid October. So later in the year, mid October 2026, that's the broadly the central to the eastern regions of South Africa. And then from around mid November, that will be the central towards the west of South Africa. Folks would be planting at that time. And the core thing that we keep hearing is that, hey, these forecasts of El Nino are getting stronger and stronger, and folks in the northern hemisphere are talking about it as it's going to be this super El Nino. I mean, the New York Times and many others have been writing these articles and putting the figures out. A few days ago, I came out and said, hey, look, we are looking and listening to what our own weather authorities are saying. It's something that we are worried about, but it's difficult at this moment to really put a figure to say what this means for the agricultural activity. And that is not to say we shouldn't be worried or take seriously from what others are signaling. It's only because the South African Weather Service themselves, they've said, South African Weather Service came out and said, look, we are monitoring this. In the next couple of months, we will give an update as to how we are seeing the potential impact of this in South Africa. And one of the other positive things for us is that the two seasons that I just mentioned now, that they were excellent season. It also means that the soil moisture in the country is not as depleted as bad. I mean, it's raining even in these times in South Africa. We are now almost mid-May, but it rains in some of the regions of our country. Of course, it's not good because that then presents all kinds of problems for the quality of our summer grains because folks are about to harvest their crop. But the other way of looking at these rains is that when the season starts, soil moisture will not be as bad across the country. So folks will be able to start the tilling with better soil moisture. And of course, those that are in fruit and vegetables, the dams will be at better levels so they can be able to irrigate. But if the El Nino indeed does become the super one and then we encounter a difficult drought, I think it would help us to think back to say, when was the last time where we had some of these difficult droughts? And the time was in 2024-25 season. And I think even the 2025-26 season was one of those difficult droughts. But I wouldn't use those per se as the reference because the seasons before that were not as exceptional as what we just had. And the impact on the crops and the livestock was devastating, of course, at the time because the vegetation and the grazing felt were not like what we have at the moment. So the very fact that we are coming from better seasons, that means then the start, at least for us, is not going to be as bad. But if it then the season is intense, of course, that is something that we'll worry about. I still think that Let's see what happens in June and July or in terms of the weather developments. And perhaps maybe then we'll start to form a view as to say where things are. But I think it's reasonable that people are worried about this. Now, if you are sitting and you're not in farming, what all of this means for us, I think we can still take heart on the fact that we are coming from two excellent seasons. We do have ample agricultural supplies in the country, grains, which are usually we use them as a proxy as to what's going on in the country. We have the ample crop record harvest. All of our summer grains are at 20.8 million tons. And if you even look at the major ones that are important for food price inflation, maize, it's a record crop of about 16.8 million tons. We only need about 12 million tons for our consumption. But of course, then we did also not export a lot as much as we thought we would export. There's a large carryover stock that also adds to these supplies. And it is why when you look at maize prices at the moment in South Africa, they are down by anywhere between 20 and 30%. Soybean prices are down by anywhere between 10 and 15%. It's that issue of the ample supplies now. But if then we move to a difficult drought period, that changes the dynamics a bit, because suddenly now you have this demand for our maize from the region, and that may push prices of these commodities up a bit. And it's not only going to be an El Nino that we'll be dealing with, it will also be the issue of the higher input costs. And there will be questions about the availability of them, not only for us now, I'm thinking about the Southern Africa region. I must say, though, that over the years, also seed breeding in South Africa has improved globally. We now have seed cultivars that are able to withstand some of the harsher conditions slightly better than back about 10, 15 years ago. So that's something to also keep in mind. But I think for broader, some other countries in the region, Southern Africa region, they don't have to access to same seed cultivars as what we have in South Africa, which is why the drought in the likes of Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi tend to have a harsher impact in their grain crop compared to South Africa. So these are all things that we'll need to keep attention on. And I thought as I'm working this evening, I should jump in and drop this comment, because I'm seeing some of these, and some of my friends, Anthony just dropped me and sent me a video where I was watching about the same issue. And I thought, let me make a comment from a South Africa perspective.